Coming up, celebrating the life of Martin Luther King Jr. And later, a controversial education bill is advancing in the Iowa legislature.
New year, same Hawkeyes. Iowa dominates the start of 2023.
Get ready for a gloomy start to the semester.
And we are back from break, and this is DITV News at 8:30. Good morning, and thank you for tuning in live to DITV and KRUI 89.7 FM. I'm Ashley Wheel. In honor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, the University of Iowa has taken the entire week to observe and celebrate the life of Dr. King. King was a famous activist in the 50s and 60s who worked to end segregation peacefully throughout the United States. The University of Iowa has celebrated the holiday since 1969, 17 years before it became a national holiday. And throughout this week, the university will be putting on free events for the community. Some of the events will include food and coat drives, Meals on Wheels, and a unity rally and march. You can find more on these events at mlk.uiowa.edu. And the Iowa legislature began their 2023 session earlier this month, and new bills and laws are being proposed. One major piece of legislation this year is Governor Kim Reynolds' school voucher bill. I was in Des Moines last week, and I have more on what this means and why it has become such a controversial debate in the Iowa House and Senate.
Every parent should have a choice of where to send their child, and that should not be limited to families who can afford it.
Governor Kim Reynolds proposed the private school voucher legislation early last week, which sets aside over $7,000 for Iowa students to have a choice between attending public or private schools. However, there is heavy Democratic pushback against this bill.
The fundamental issue of school vouchers concerns me, right? Just even the idea of this concerns me. And let me be clear, it also concerns a majority of Iowans. A majority of Iowans don't want school vouchers.
Many Democrats are against it, saying that private school vouchers should not be where public tax dollars go, along with how it does not truly give parents the choice due to private schools having the ability to decline applications.
Remember that a public school has to take any kid who shows up at their door, and a private school doesn't have to do that. So it really isn't about choice. Parents don't have the choice that they're talking about.
The plan sets aside $7,598 in state funding for private school students' education expenses. But Democrats are also saying that this is another factor that is not truly giving everyone an equal chance.
So saying that we're going to give vouchers out to low-income families first, it sounds good, but how many families are actually going to be able to make a private school decision based on just getting that one handout if they don't have the additional funds available within their family unit?
Despite Democratic pushes to leave more funding in public education, both the House and Senate have strong Republican majorities, making the legislation likely to pass this year. From Des Moines, Ashley Wheel, DITV. And in other Iowa political news, it was announced that the wife of a county supervisor has been charged with voter fraud. Kim Fung Taylor, the wife of current Woodbury County Supervisor Jeremy Taylor, has been charged with 52 separate accounts of voter fraud from the primary elections of 2020. Jeremy Taylor had been in the running to represent Iowa's 4th district in Congress, and it was reported that his wife sent in false registration forms and absentee ballots in an effort to elect her husband into office. Allegedly, Kim Fung Taylor targeted the Vietnamese community near Sioux City due to their unfamiliarity with the English language. Jeremy Taylor ended up placing 3rd in his 2020 bid at Congress, and Kim Fung Taylor's trial is scheduled for March 20th. And with a new semester comes new weather. What can we expect to see this week, Abigail?
Well, Ashley, like I said earlier, we can expect a gloomy start to this week, so don't forget your umbrellas today. I'm live outside the Adler Journalism Building, where it's currently 37 degrees with 16-mile-per-hour winds coming in from the northeast, and to top it off, a 98% chance of rain throughout the day today. Tonight we'll have a low of 32 with continued showers and a bit of snow overnight. Tomorrow will bring in the last of the rain with a high of 34 and a low of 21 degrees in the evening. The rest of the week looks similar with cloudy skies and highs in the low 30s and upper 20s until Sunday. As the weekend rolls around, you might expect to see some rain or snow as the sun goes down, so don't forget to bundle up. And earlier this week, Iowa experienced its fair share of intense weather when a tornado touched down near Williamsburg, blowing a vehicle off of I-80. Fortunately, no injuries have been reported from the EF1 tornado, and the twister was the first tornado to touch down in Iowa within January since 1967. Iowa is one of many states who have experienced the wrath of tornadoes since the beginning of the new year. Back to you, Ashley.
Thanks, Abigail. And after a recent shooting on January 14th, the Iowa City Police Department have identified and arrested 29-year-old Dante Yance. The arrest came after police responded to a report of shots fired outside of the pedestrian mall just before 4 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. The police call claims that Yance fired several shots at an individual. Yance was charged with 2 accounts of assault with a dangerous weapon, trafficking a stolen firearm, and reckless use of a firearm. And the Iowa City Police say that no one was injured during the shooting. And after Janice Weiner was elected to the Iowa Senate in November, a chair opened up in the Iowa City City Council. Now the open seat is filled with 24-year-old Andrew Dunn. Dunn also ran for a Senate seat during the midterms for the Democratic Party last year and was in his 4th year at the University of Iowa. Dunn's election was for an at-large seat on the council, and through 3 rounds of voting and 4 of the council members voting for him, Dunn beat out 20 other applications for the position. The remaining 11 months of Weiner's term will be completed by Dunn, who also plans to run for city council again in 2024. Now let's send it over to DITV Sports with Michael Merrick.
Thanks, Ashley, and we have a lot of Hawkeye sports to talk about over our long winter break. Let's start with the Iowa men's basketball team, as their home game against the Northwestern Wildcats that was set for tonight at 8 p.m. has been postponed. Multiple members of the Northwestern team are suffering from injury and are under COVID-19 protocols. And due to the Wildcats only having 6 eligible players for tonight's game, the 2 teams came to a mutual decision to hold this game at a different date if possible. As of now, those who have already bought tickets will have the option to keep their tickets for the postponed game, which would have to happen either early February or early March, but fans should keep an eye out as no date has been set as of now. And although the game for tonight has been postponed, the Hawks have been on fire lately, winning 4 straight games. Junior forward and likely All-American Chris Murray leads the team in both scoring and rebounding, where he averages 21 points and 9 rebounds. But the Hawks wouldn't have won those 4 games if it wasn't for the emergence of sophomore Peyton Sanford. Sanford, who started the season shooting just 18% from 3, has emerged as a sharpshooter many expected coming into the season. And during the current win streak, he has improved that to 50% from beyond the arc and has averaged 18 points per game.
You watch him in high school, I mean, he was an assassin. And then he was really good for us last year. And he was really good in the summer, he was really good in the fall. He had a couple games where he was off. And he was way too hard on himself in that stretch. So our guys didn't give up on him, and he didn't give up on himself.
Sanford's increased role has played a huge part for the Hawkeyes, as he's stepping in for junior Patrick McCaffrey, who was taken a leave of absence from the team due to mental health concerns. It is still unknown on when McCaffrey will return, but Iowa's next game will be when they travel to Ohio State to play the Buckeyes on Saturday. And on the women's side of things, they have not relaxed over the holidays, as the women's basketball team had 7 outings over winter break and went 6-1 over the stretch. Caitlin Clark, like it's a surprise at all, has averaged 25 points per game over that stretch, helping the team outscore their opponents by 142 points over those 7 games. Their biggest win came from defeating Michigan in Ann Arbor after being upset by Illinois to start 2023. Clark would put up 28 points and would have some help from others, with 3 other starters scoring in the double digits. The team shot a tremendous 60% from the field and 45% from three, making it nearly impossible for the Wolverines to stop them.
It was a great focus, and it was balance. It was, people coming off the bench. It was scoring off offensive rebounds. I mean, and that's what made it so good, is it just felt like a complete game.
Tonight, the women's team heads to East Lansing to take on Michigan State University. At the legendary Breslin Center, well, that hasn't been that kind to the Hawkeyes, as the team has lost 10 of their last 12 games there. But head coach Lisa Bluter is confident in this year's Hawks.
It's kind of been a situation where we've lost at their place but beat them at our place, and whoever was the home team was winning that. Well, we can't have that happen this year. We only play them once. We play them at their place. Our goal is to sweep the state of Michigan because we only play Michigan once.
One thing to look out for is how the Spartans play some of the most press defense in the Big Ten. Another team that played a lot of press defense was Penn State, who the Hawkeyes absolutely crushed this past Saturday. So look out for star point guard Caitlin Clark, who could be having another favorable matchup for her elite scoring and playmaking abilities. Hawkeyes fans can catch the game on Big Ten Plus, and tip-off is at 6:01 p.m. tonight. Continuing the theme of win streaks in Iowa City, the Hawkeye wrestling team has been on a tear this season. So now let's bring in DITV sports reporter Aiden Wirtz. Aiden, what's the latest with the Hawkeyes?
Well, Michael, the Hawks have been dominant as ever, recently beating Purdue and number 11th ranked Northwestern in presiding fashion. Wrestlers like Jacob Warner and Real Woods are looking to get fully healthy soon, but it's very reassuring that the Hawks can still beat down on other opponents without some of their star power.
Yeah, exactly, and the Hawkeyes have had some surprisingly tough matchups so far this season. Aiden, what are the challenging matchups on the upcoming schedule?
Not just challenging, but the toughest meet is soon impending, with Iowa scheduled to wrestle the nation's top-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions a week from this Friday. Tom Brands and his Hawkeyes will have to battle hard if they want to compete with the reigning national champs. And wrestlers Tony Cassiope and Spencer Lee will have must-win matches to take down Penn State head coach Cael Sanderson and his #1 squad.
That will definitely be a meet worth watching, Aiden. And speaking of Spencer Lee, he rallied back from an early deficit against Purdue, but has been dominant ever since that moment. How's he looking for the rest of the year?
Well, as we know, this is Spencer Lee's last year wrestling as an Iowa Hawkeye. But if he can take it the distance, Lee will be one of only 5 wrestlers to ever win 4 NCAA titles. Penn State head coach Cael Sanderson is one of the 4 already, and Lee could join him as one of the greats. But more than that, Lee is only 14 victories away from 100 career wins. And can you guess how many matches Lee has left to wrestle this year? 14. So as head coach Tom Brands once said, this would make Lee the best wrestler to ever wear a Hawkeye singlet. And that is no small feat. Back to you, Michael.
Thanks, Aiden. And the Iowa football team closed out the season with a commanding victory at the TransPerfect Music City Bowl on New Year's Eve. The Hawkeyes book ended 2022 against the Kentucky Wildcats, but this time they would dominate the Wildcats 21-0, including 2 pick-sixes, one from sophomore star super duper Cooper DeJean, and one from freshman 5-star standout Xavier Nwampa. Third-string quarterback Joey Labus also shined in his career debut, as he went 14 of 24 with 139 yards and a TD. And since the bowl win, the Hawkeyes have gone to work in the transfer portal, flipping former 4-star Wisconsin quarterback Deacon Hill, as well as adding wideout Seth Anderson and offensive tackle Dejon Parker. Iowa also recruited well, signing local 4-star linebacker Ben Cooter, who is also committed to the Hawkeye wrestling team, and they added 3-star defensive lineman Ontario Thompson, along with many others. With these key additions, the Hawkeyes have answered questions at many positions, but they are still looking to fill the holes left by wide receivers Arlen Bruce and Keegan Johnson. They'll come back Friday for all the latest on everything Hawkeye sports, and back to you, Ashley.
Thanks, Michael. And the premiere of HBO Max's new TV show, The Last of Us, set records for the streaming service, based on the hit video game series of the same name and starring Pedro Pascal. 4.7 million people watched the first episode on its opening day, drawing the most opening day viewers since last year's House of the Dragon. And that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to DITV News and listening to KRUI 89.7 FM. Be sure to head over to thedailyiowan.com for all your latest news between Monday and Friday, and you can check out more of our content on dailyiowan.com/DITV. For DITV News, I'm Ashley Wheel. Have a great day and start to your semester.